What if a single tree could grow nearly 6 meters in just 6 months, survive drought and poor soil, and still provide an extraordinary range of nutrients essential for human health? It sounds almost too good to be true. Yet such a tree exists, and for thousands of years it quietly supported communities across parts of Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Its name is Moringa oleifera. In many traditional cultures, Moringa was never considered exotic or rare. It was simply a useful tree growing near homes and villages. Families harvested its leaves for food, pressed its seeds for oil, and relied on its remarkable versatility in daily life. Because nearly every part of the plant could be used, it earned powerful names across different cultures: the miracle tree and the tree of life. For generations, Moringa helped communities endure drought, hunger, and illness. Yet despite this long history, it remains surprisingly unfamiliar to much of the Western world today. As modern agriculture focused on a small number of global crops, many traditional plants faded from mainstream diets. But now scientists are taking a second look. In a time of climate change, soil degradation, and fragile food systems, ancient crops like Moringa may hold valuable insights for the future. Welcome to Nature's Hidden Legacy, where the secrets of nature are revealed. Moringa is not an ordinary leafy vegetable. In fact, many researchers describe it as one of the most nutrient-dense plants ever studied. When scientists began analyzing the composition of Moringa leaves, the results surprised many nutrition experts. Within 100 grams of dried Moringa leaves, researchers have found an unusually rich concentration of nutrients. Protein levels can reach around 27 to 29%, which is remarkably high for a plant. Even more impressive, Moringa contains all 9 essential amino acids, the building blocks of protein that the human body cannot produce on its own. This makes it one of the rare plant foods that provides a complete protein profile. The leaves are also packed with micronutrients. Studies have reported vitamin C levels ranging from roughly 188 to 279 milligrams per 100 grams, depending on growing conditions and processing methods. Moringa is also rich in beta-carotene, a precursor to vitamin A, along with significant amounts of calcium and iron. To put this into perspective, Moringa often compares favorably with many familiar foods. Its protein content can exceed that of most leafy greens. Vitamin C levels may be several times higher than those found in oranges. Beta-carotene levels can rival or exceed those in carrots, while calcium concentrations can approach those of milk. But what fascinates scientists is not just the plant's nutritional profile, it is also the way the tree grows. Moringa is an extraordinarily fast-growing species. Under favorable conditions, the tree can reach 5 to 6 meters in height within only a few months. It can thrive in poor or sandy soils, tolerate extended periods of drought, and often requires very little fertilizer or chemical input. Because of these traits, several international development organizations have begun studying Moringa as a potential crop for improving nutrition in vulnerable regions. In parts of Africa and South Asia, community programs have introduced Moringa leaf powder as a nutritional supplement. The powdered leaves are sometimes added to soups, porridges, or other staple foods to help increase vitamin and mineral intake, particularly among children. Few plants combine high nutritional density, rapid growth, and strong drought tolerance in the same way. It is precisely this combination that has made Moringa an increasingly important subject of research within programs focused on sustainable agriculture and food security worldwide today. The story of Moringa begins thousands of years ago in the foothills of the Himalayas in northern India, where the tree is believed to have first been cultivated. Long before modern nutrition science existed, ancient cultures had already recognized that this fast-growing plant was unusually valuable. In the classical texts of Ayurveda, India's traditional system of medicine, Moringa was known as shigru. Ancient healers described the plant as highly beneficial for health and used it in a wide variety of treatments. Some traditional writings even suggested that it could help address hundreds of different ailments. While many of these early claims were rooted in traditional beliefs rather than scientific testing, modern research has shown that Moringa leaves contain compounds known for their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. These findings help explain why the plant became so widely respected in traditional medicine systems across South Asia. Over time, Moringa spread beyond the Indian subcontinent through trade routes and cultural exchange. The tree gradually appeared across regions of the Middle East, North Africa, and East Africa, where it adapted easily to warm climates and dry conditions. In ancient Egypt, one of Moringa's most prized products was its oil. Extracted from the seeds, this oil became known as ben oil. It had several qualities that made it particularly valuable in the ancient world. Ben oil was remarkably stable, meaning it resisted spoilage and oxidation better than many other plant oils. It also had a light texture and mild scent, making it ideal for cosmetic use. Historical accounts suggest it was used in perfumes, skin treatments, and personal care. Archaeological discoveries have even found traces of similar oils stored in containers within ancient Egyptian tombs, suggesting that oils derived from plants like Moringa were considered valuable enough to accompany individuals into the afterlife. Further north, knowledge of the plant also reached the Mediterranean world. Historical writings indicate that both Greek and Roman societies were familiar with Moringa or related plants. It was sometimes used to support digestion, relieve fatigue, or add flavor to certain foods. For most of human history, however, Moringa was not viewed as a rare or exotic plant. Instead, it was simply part of everyday agricultural life. In many traditional farming systems, families planted Moringa trees close to their homes. The reasons were practical. The tree grew quickly, its leaves could be harvested frequently for food, and its seeds produced a useful oil. Within the diverse agricultural landscapes of the past, plants like Moringa played quiet but important roles, helping communities maintain resilient and self-sufficient food systems. At the beginning of the 20th century, the science of nutrition entered a new and transformative phase. Researchers were beginning to understand that certain diseases were not caused by infections or toxins, but by the absence of tiny, invisible substances in food. In 1913, scientists Elmer McCollum and Marguerite Davis identified one of these substances while studying dietary deficiencies in laboratory animals. They called it vitamin A. Their discovery marked one of the earliest confirmations that specific micronutrients were essential for human health. This breakthrough opened the door to an entirely new scientific field. Over the following decades, researchers identified additional vitamins, including vitamin C, vitamin D, and the group now known as the vitamin B complex. Each discovery deepened the understanding of how diet influenced human biology. At the same time, industry quickly recognized the economic potential of these findings. Pharmaceutical and chemical companies began investing heavily in methods to isolate, manufacture, and distribute vitamins on an industrial scale. Laboratories searched for ways to extract vitamins from natural sources or synthesize them chemically so they could be produced in large quantities. By the 1930s, scientists had already succeeded in synthesizing vitamin C in the laboratory. This achievement marked a turning point. Nutrients that once existed only within whole foods could now be produced independently, packaged, and sold as individual products. After World War II, the market for vitamins expanded rapidly. Advances in manufacturing and distribution allowed supplements to reach millions of consumers. Vitamins became a familiar part of everyday life, appearing in pharmacies, grocery stores, and household medicine cabinets. During the same period, the global food system was also changing. Industrial agriculture increasingly focused on a small number of high-yield crops such as wheat, corn, and soybeans. Food processing technologies expanded, making packaged and shelf-stable foods more widely available. As a result, many modern diets began to rely more heavily on processed foods, fortified products, and dietary supplements to provide essential nutrients. This shift subtly changed how society thought about nutrition. Rather than viewing health primarily through the lens of diverse, whole food diets, many people began to think of nutrients as individual components that could be added back into food or consumed in pill form. In this new system, traditional plants that once contributed to local diets often became less visible within the global food economy. Despite its remarkable qualities, Moringa has certain characteristics that make it less compatible with the structure of the modern global food system. One of the biggest limitations is shelf life. Fresh Moringa leaves spoil very quickly after harvest. In warm climates, the leaves can begin to lose quality within hours if they are not dried or cooked. This makes long-distance transportation difficult without processing. Modern food supply chains, however, are designed around crops that can travel thousands of kilometers and remain stable for long periods of time. Staple crops such as wheat, corn, and soybeans fit this model extremely well. Their grains can be dried, stored for months or even years, transported across continents, and processed into a wide range of products. Because of these characteristics, they became the backbone of large-scale industrial agriculture. These crops are also well suited for standardization and mass production. Farmers can grow them across vast areas, harvest them with machines, and deliver consistent raw materials for food manufacturers. This efficiency helps support the massive global supply chains that feed billions of people today. Moringa, by contrast, fits more naturally into local and small-scale agricultural systems. The tree grows quickly and thrives in warm climates, but it is often harvested in smaller quantities, with leaves picked regularly from individual trees. In many parts of the world, moringa is still grown in household gardens or mixed farming systems, where it provides fresh leaves, edible pods, and seeds for oil. Another factor is flavor and preparation. Fresh moringa leaves have a distinctive, slightly bitter taste. In traditional cuisines, they are often cooked into soups, stews, or sauces, where their flavor blends with other ingredients. Without this kind of preparation, the taste can be unfamiliar to people who did not grow up eating the plant. For industrial food systems that prioritize convenience and uniform taste, ingredients that require traditional preparation methods can be harder to integrate. As a result, moringa never became a major commodity crop within the global food economy. Yet this does not mean the tree disappeared. Across large parts of South Asia, East Africa, and Southeast Asia, moringa remains a common and valuable plant. It continues to grow in villages, farms, and home gardens, where people harvest its leaves and pods as part of everyday cooking. Its relative absence in industrial food markets reflects less a lack of value and more the simple reality that some crops fit large-scale global systems better than others. In recent years, moringa has begun to attract renewed attention from scientists, farmers, and development organizations around the world. There are several reasons for this growing interest. Today, the global food system faces a number of serious challenges. Climate change is increasing temperatures and disrupting rainfall patterns in many regions. Droughts are becoming more frequent in parts of Africa, South Asia, and the Middle East. At the same time, decades of intensive agriculture have contributed to soil degradation, reducing the productivity of farmland in many areas. In response, researchers have started looking more closely at crops that can thrive under difficult conditions while still providing strong nutritional value. This is where moringa becomes particularly interesting. The tree grows quickly, even in hot climates and relatively poor soils. It can tolerate long dry periods and still produce edible leaves rich in vitamins and minerals. For communities facing limited access to diverse foods, plants like moringa can provide an additional source of nutrition that is relatively easy to cultivate. That does not mean moringa is a miracle solution to global hunger or climate change. No single crop can solve such complex challenges. But moringa does represent something valuable, an example of how ancient agricultural knowledge can still offer useful insights today. In many parts of the world, the tree never disappeared. It simply continued growing quietly in home gardens and small farms. Families harvest the leaves to cook soups, dry them into powder, or mix them into everyday foods. The young pods are eaten as vegetables, and the seeds can even produce oil. After thousands of years, the plant is still there. Not because of marketing campaigns or modern trends, but because it remains genuinely useful to the people who grow it. And perhaps that is the most interesting part of moringa's story. In the process of building a modern global food system, we may have overlooked certain plants that once played an important role in local diets. Moringa may be one of them.